All right, I usually give it 1 minute in, so I'm gonna start us about 3:31 here. If anyone still needs a moment. We are recording, so okay. Welcome everybody. Thank you for taking some time to be here today, or if you are watching the recording, appreciate you checking in on this. So again, my name is Matt Bezick. I'm the executive director for our Oregon Trio Association, and I am excited to kind of do a partner collaboration kind of space here today and bring in some folks from the Young Leaders Program. I'm going to turn it over to them kind of right out the gate here and have them kind of present on what the opportunity is. And then I might touch in a little bit at the back end just to provide some insight on how I think us in the trio world, the college trio world can work with these folks and maybe get creative around getting our students into these amazing opportunities. So this all initially started, we had been doing some work with the civic leaders. We were looking at doing our civic engagements event and got connected with some wonderful people who had a lot of awesome curriculum that we'd be able to offer to a lot of our students. One thing led to the other that got postponed likely a little bit, but what it did is connect us with some wonderful folks who run a very similar, really cool summer program called the Young Leaders Program. They get SimuNation summer camp, and they'll go into it a little more here in a minute. But I had met with them, had learned a lot about this, and I wanted to just kind of create a space for them to present this opportunity out to many of our students. I'm going to get real specific here for a moment. If you're in an upper bound, this date likely is going to overlap from what you're going to see from what you all are probably doing within your summer programming, though there's nothing stopping you from sending students potentially to this camp within your larger kind of 6-week programs, but particularly for the talent search folks who work with, lots and lots of students all over the state. There are opportunities for students to have really awesome experiences this summer. So I'm gonna kind of like transition over to Stephen and Brian and Marianne, who are all joining us here today, and let you all kind of go into presentation mode and present what exactly this is. And then maybe we can do some Q&As on the back end where I can maybe help chime in and talk with folks around how we can integrate kind of what we do in Trio with this great program.
Thank you, Matt. My name is Stephen Price. I am the Executive Director of the Young Leaders Program. I'm joined here today by Brian McKinley, who is our SimuNation coordinator and also treasurer of the program, and Marion Walker, who is the president of the Young Leaders Corporation. We are a organization that was founded about a decade ago based on the belief that all students have the ability to learn, and that leadership can be fun, that government can be fun, civics can be fun. And we went about trying to figure out a way to really engage students in that process. So that's kind of where we come from as far as where we got started. I have some slides here I'd love to share. I'm going to, looks like I can go ahead and that's open. So I'm going to go ahead and share that out. And it looks like that worked just perfectly. So here at Young Leaders Program, a frequent question we get asked is what are we? What we are is a program that is really based on experiential learning or hands-on learning, allowing kids the opportunity to get their hands into the business of learning how to be in government, leadership, civics, as well as a good, healthy dose of adulting, learning what it's like to have responsibility for the first time, as well as living on campus. We are housed this year at Linfield University. We have a number of great speakers that come in every single year, from the governor to Chief Clerk of the House of Representatives, to different senators and representatives and Supreme Court justices from all walks of life who come and present to the students yearly. We really strive to inspire students when they're at Young Leaders Program to really get involved in the business of government and making a difference in the world around them. And it doesn't necessarily mean just government, but just really making a difference in the world around them and learning to lead wherever they are at in whatever areas they are found. The students at Young Leaders also learn how to be adults. And many times, for a lot of them, they report to us in the surveys that they do turn in at the end of the camp. And this was their first opportunity to be on their own. The first time they ever felt like they had to take responsibility for themselves and to behave themselves. They learn a lot of soft skills there. For example, the very, very first day when they come to Young Leaders, they have to learn how to write a resume, get a job that they have to keep the entire week that they're at camp. These jobs are within our simulation. Everything from being a tax collector to a news reporter to a postman to whatever. And all these jobs in the program, they get paid per apples, which is our monetary unit within the program. And then they have to use those to pay their taxes, their bills, any fines if they happen to break one of the laws that they have passed, or any of the other, as well as that's also the currency that they would use if they wanted to go to the store during community time and buy themselves a candy bar and a soda or whatever it is that they wanted. So they learn very quickly about finances and money and how to manage their income and their expenses. The art of learning statecraft is very, very important. It's built into what we do. Students, almost every student that's there will participate in some way in some branch of government or some form or function, whether it's mayor of their city or governor of their state or president of the simulated United States. And in that capacity, they get to, learn how to give speeches, how to debate, how to take and receive criticism and give criticism appropriately, how to write news articles. There's quite a bit that goes into the statecraft component. We have a variety of opportunities available. One of them is our day camps, which we've already gone through all of them for this year. We had a number that were scheduled throughout the early part of the year. Our next one that's coming up, though, and these are a couple of pictures of some of the kids at some of our day camps. We're very, very hands-on. One of our slogans is "We learn by doing." And so in that regard, the students in this particular event, we're learning how to do a lot of, mapping out of what cities and streets would like, what kind of utilities you would need, all those sorts of components with that. Students also learn how to work together in teams in order to advance their goals, overcome program obstacles. We throw them artificial obstacles and sometimes real obstacles that come up within their program or within whatever it is that they're working on. Like, for example, there might be a tsunami or something like that they have to plan out and deal with and organize. Our summer learning camp is the one that's coming up this July. That's what we're going to be looking at next. During this program, students receive awards for the different activities that they're doing. This particular student received the improvement award for the most improvement of a student during the time that they were there. Again, as I mentioned, we're housed at Linfield University. That right there on the ground is a giant map of our simulated world that the kids live in. What you're seeing in this particular picture are during one brief period during the time, the staff all dress up in different outfits and represent the different forms of government, all of which are simulated. We don't have any reality as far as that goes here. But we have simulated versions of the United Kingdom and all the different countries represented there. And then so students can go and ask them about their modes of government, their belief systems, and all the different components that go into being a country. There are a number of different opportunities while they're there. Students get to learn in different areas or avenues, and which is what makes young leaders very replicatable, or for the students to come back every year over and over again, because they might come one year and be in the media department, and they might come one year and be in the police department or the legislature. And so every year they can come back and experience the world in a whole new way. This particular image is of our media communication department, where the kids, they set up a green screen, they get the cameras, they have drones, and they're running around doing interviews and taking pictures, and then they put it all together and present their news broadcast every night to the rest of the camp, as well as any political commercials for the students who are running for office, those sorts of things. We have a number of themes that are built into the Young Leaders process: civics, governance, finance and economics, criminal justice, technology, media, journalism, political theory, statecraft, philosophy, commerce, and actually many, many more. I mean, as an example, students who come and one of the classes that we offer, because we offer a kind of a combination when you're there of both the simulation time as well as classes intermixed amongst the meals, and kind of times like community and some of the other things that are happening. But we do offer classes in finance, for example, where we teach the students how to start saving money and how the stock market works. And we had some kids at age 13 or 14 this last year express that they now figured they were really excited about getting their first job and being able to save money so they could start investing so that they could retire early as a millionaire. What a really awesome opportunity that most kids never get a chance to do any of that kind of stuff. In addition, there's a number of many elected positions that the students can run for: governor, vice president. At the federal level, there's also local and state governments. And as I mentioned earlier, almost every student is involved somewhere, somehow, in some form of civil service. We are open to all students in grades 7 through 12, regardless of race, color, religion, national origin, sex, gender, sexual orientation, or different ability. We also kind of are open up to potentially younger students as young as 6th grade if they are, for example, in the TAG program, and they have those abilities to work on an advanced level. We kind of leave those decisions up to parents. We do have those conversations with them, but we are open to that, with our age cap being 18 years of age. After that, we try to recruit those folks, if they're interested in coming back after that, to come back as staff or junior staff. We have a little video here of one of the students talking about some of her experiences. So I'm going to click on that. Hopefully this will feed through.
The best part about being at Young Leaders is that you don't have to pay to be here, and you get an awesome experience.
What is something you learned here?
Something that I learned at Young Leaders Camp was how the judicial system works, and also how to run like the whole government as a whole, and how many people it takes to just do it. Like, just because you have one face of something doesn't mean that there aren't people behind it helping out.
And last question, what would you tell people who are thinking about coming to Young Leaders?
I would tell people who are coming to Young Leaders to just do it. Just take the risk and come here. It's so worth it. Like, you really don't know what to expect until you get here. And when you're here, it's literally amazing and you have so much fun.
That young lady was our Supreme Court judge, in the Supreme Court, who overheard a case, and the way she was handling the courtroom and handling objections, I mean, you would not know that she wasn't a real judge. The students take this very, very seriously. Part of that is because the staff that are there are all experts in their various fields. For example, Brian has been in legislative administration in the state of Oregon for a very, very long time, almost 2 decades now. And so he is very influential in making the legislature feel very, very real to the students. And we have
in Wisconsin now.
Well, yes, we have students who are involved or we have some staff who are involved in the law, and so they can bring the judicial component in, or various other pieces. So we are what question comes up, how much is Young Leaders Program? Well, we are funded primarily through grants, but also through sponsoring organizations. And if you'll give me a second, Brian, Brian or Mary, would you want to talk for a minute? I need to go turn off a beeper that's going off in the other room.
Sure, I hope you can hear me. Can anyone hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
You're good.
Okay, great. So what Steve was trying to say about that is that the important aspect that I would like to highlight of our camp staff and how we interact with the students is we tend to fill the positions of the three branches of government with people that are actually the real deal when it comes to that. Like in our judicial branch, we have someone who's an actual passed the bar and went through law school. And so they teach not only how to be a lawyer, they teach the aspects of what it takes to then go on to college or university and to study that in that direction, which is something that's really a lot of help to students, because just acting and being a lawyer or a judge in a simulation, although the events that they're judging have actually happened in the camp, we go to the next step and then say, okay, now if you want to do this as in real life, what do you have to do in high school? Where do you have to go for college, such like that. Same thing with the media. We have people who are involved in the media in the real world. As Stephen mentioned, myself, we actually have a tri-state partnership for the legislative branch for our national Congress. I work in the Wisconsin Assembly. We have a member of the committee staff from Washington State, and then we have the reading clerk from the Oregon legislature, the Oregon House, and the three of us guide and direct the legislative branch of our simulation. So we have a wide variety and talent and group of people with a deep talent stack in order that the kids get a realistic view of what the job is that they're doing and how to get into that job if they want to go forward. Marianne?
And I know that the students have really appreciated getting that firsthand knowledge in, as Steve has on this slide, free. That it was a lot harder for me in high school when I determined the direction that I wanted to go, to find those bits and pieces on my own, whereas Young Leaders puts it all together in one experience. And so there are students who partway through the camp, they're like, you know what, I actually want to try media. And they have that opportunity to switch jobs. Whereas if you were in the middle of an internship through a third party, you would have to, stop your internship and try and start over something new, meet new contacts. And so because it's provided free for the students in this big holistic picture, it gives them the chance to try at a higher level many different opportunities.
Thank you for jumping in there like that. That beeping was going to be very distracting to me. One of the questions that does come up is how much do we cost as far as that goes? We never cost anything to the kids, as it was already mentioned. We do have sponsoring organizations and grants. For the cost of what we provide, or for what the cost is to send one student, is for 6 nights of lodging at Linfield University in one of the dorms, meals for 7 days. They get the uniform shirts, athletic shirts, plus everything else. And I'm going to show you a few slides here, pictures from this last year's camp. There we go. Just to kind of give you a little bit better flavor of what that looks like. So in this particular picture, we've got the president and vice president elect as they're getting ready to take office. This is the newspaper media getting ready to work on a news article. The executive office with the governor, or I'm sorry, the president, vice president, and their cabinet with support staff in there. There they are again, a little bit close up. This was the legislature. So you can see here, we've got each student is kind of seated at a table. We have a lot of graphics, visuals that really immerse the students so you can in the experience, so they feel like they're really part of it. As I mentioned earlier, our Brapples are all funded through or help the kids give reality to the Brapples. So this store, they want to save their money so they can go to the store. Yeah, and they don't want to spend it on taxes or whatever else. And this is not real money. Like I said, this is our simulated currency. The point of this, though, is came to head during this last camp. I heard a student come in, he started counting his Brapples, and he said, man, my taxes are just too high. I can't hardly afford as much as I want. And that was, I think, one of the better learning experiences for him, that he had to learn, how to budget and what the real world is and why his parents are complaining about, the bills and everything. And probably went home with a little better understanding of what that looks like. This was, I believe, our judicial department going through some of the stuff as they were getting ready to do some learning. Our police department, Marianne, she was the chief of police last year as the staff in charge of that. So she got all dressed up in all the outfit just because she's kind of funny that way. As I mentioned, we simulate different governments. And so this was one of the staff was during part of the program was simulating the what used to be the USSR. It was answering questions about that form of government. Students receive a variety of both coursework and experiential learning where they're hands-on. They all get uniform shirts so that they all are kind of at the same level and at the same place. There's a variety of different venues, learning opportunities. So this is one of the different classes that was happening. Not all the students have to go to every single class, so there are different opportunities for them. So yeah, that kind of gives you a little bit of visual on that. So let me go back to my other slideshow here. So the big question is how much. It is $14.99 per student, which in this day and age, I don't know that people can clothe and feed a student for a week for that, a high schooler for that much. But as I mentioned, we offset a lot of this through grants. If an organization is able to sponsor a student and they have the funding for it, then that's how we go about doing that. Otherwise, we look into our other donors that we have and find the money in different places. I was a side point on this piece. One of the things that happened this year is the Oregon Camps Grant that we have been relying on. The legislature did some interesting things with it. I'm not going to go into a great deal of detail, but unfortunately, most of the CBOs that were relying on that are not going to be able to access it this year. CBOs being community-based organizations. A lot of these summer camps are not going to be able to access this. And so this was actually funded a huge chunk of our students to attend. And we've been scrambling to find funds to support all the kids who want to go after that, because every single student who goes is for completely free. We do on our website have a registration fee, and that just is $50 and is to help prevent the bots from registering, because you wouldn't believe how many people from different countries try to register and get into it and pretend that they're coming. And what we do is once we have a sponsor, once a student receives a sponsor, either a church or a school group or a civic group or whatever, we give them a discount code where they get 100% off that, and that tracks back to that person. And then we know where that funding source was. Yeah, that's kind of how that works. This year, our program was going to be the July 7th to the 13th at Linfield University. And there's some more information. If you go onto our website, which I'm going to pull up here real fast and share that to you. Do any of you have any questions while I'm kind of doing this, as I'm kind of going through? So this is our website, and if students scroll down to where it says SimuNation Summer Camp, and they click Learn More here, there's a Register Now button, which will take them to the registration page, which is where they put in their coupon code and all of their information. And we ask that parents fill this out, because we're going to need information on allergies and everything else about that. For folks who are wanting to recruit, right underneath there's a button here that says Camp Flyer, and so that'll take you to our flyer here that's printable. It's bilingual, of course. We do have a number of staff who are bilingual on camp, as we do have a number of students who are both migrant, English language learners, unhoused, etc. in our program, and so we are designed to support those. So that our flyer and everything else that we have is always bilingual. In fact, our handbook and everything else that the parents have accessible is also bilingual. So when parents come to drop the kids off on the Sunday that we open, they can, everything is ready right there for them. So they kind of really understand the process. So that is kind of the information we wanted to share up front. And now we're ready to, if anyone has any questions or would like to figure out how we can collaborate, we are excited to be, that Trio was interested in talking to us. Initially, they were kind of talking to the Oregon State Legislature through Brian, but then things changed and now that's not happening. Or it might happen, but in a different format. Let's just put it that way. It's going to be in a different way. But Young Leaders is also prepared to kind of fill a lot of that void, as we've been doing for the past decade, since our creation. So anyway, does anyone have any questions or like anything they'd like to say?
I might jump in here and just
Go ahead.
try to put a bit of a, for the Trio people watching, there's kind of three main ways I think this could integrate really well within the programs you work in. So in the chat there, I just put a link to a form. This is something that Stephen had provided to us. Whether you just want more information or you specifically want to like nominate a student, that's kind of a way to do that. But to the three ways to kind of interact. Let's say you just work with high school students and you're like, man, this would be amazing. I have like a student, a couple students that I would love to inject into this program. There's two ways to support that. One is like through our grant funds. Like this stuff is the epitome of kind of what allowable expenses are in student programming. Obviously, having a budget for that is not always something that when something is just thrown in front of you, you don't necessarily have extra funds lying around to do that. But that doesn't mean if you have like this one individual student who's really interested, you can still submit it, have them apply. Like Stephen said, like there are a variety of different kind of, sponsors out there to maybe connect a student to if they're just like super, super interested, right? Like we live in this world of just like, we have a lot of students that don't always get these opportunities. This is an unbelievable opportunity. Let's try to like give them that period, right? The second is if you happen to have funding available, right? Or you had some field trips canceled, there's staff shortages, maybe you have some excess funding out of your grant budget this year. Particularly, you need to spend it down going into the summer months. This could be a really great opportunity for like you as a program that $1,500 per student to kind of sponsor a couple students to be able to go and participate. So those are kind of the two short-term ways in which I see Trio being able to engage in this. And then long-term, just knowing that this exists and is a possibility as you're going into future fiscal years, whether you are an upper bound and you've always wanted, like most of us don't do overnight components because we don't have the capacity, the space at our institutions to be able to do that. But would always love to find that. And at $15 a head for like an entire week here, like you're, as somebody who like years ago had planned an overnight thing, like that is hard to beat just based on logistics, let alone having like a 7-day program handed to you as well. So just from a cost perspective, if you're wanting to integrate a summer program that you're doing with an upper bound, this could be a week of that as is. Like we all know how to be creative in those 4 categories of education we have to offer with the math, foreign language, like lab science. Like you can absolutely find ways to justify when you look at the kind of scope of stuff that students do in this program. Like you can absolutely check those boxes by having students participate. And then if you're a talent search that just doesn't really necessarily have summer programming at all, this can be a really great opportunity or like some kind of reward system, right? If you budget in that we would love to sponsor X number of students to be able to go on a program like this, based on students who kind of are really engaged, go on a lot of the field trips you offer throughout the year, this could be a great kind of incentive to provide to folks and support them too. So I kind of want to just throw those out there because what we're trying to do in OTA is do less of like planning this stuff from scratch and find people who do amazing jobs at it already and like be creative around connecting our students to those opportunities and using funds either at the state level or at the individual Trio grant level to kind of make that happen. So that is kind of my Trio sense in terms of how we can get our students engaged in this opportunity and take advantage of it.
Thank you, Matt. That made spurred a couple of thoughts about in my head that I just wanted to add in now. One of the things is we do have a CTE component that occurs every day where students get hands-on career and technical trainings from folks. Like this last year, we actually had like a plumber come in and talk to the kids about, you know, how great it is, how much he loves his job and what great it is to be a plumber. Which, by the way, if you've tried to get a plumber lately, you know, they've got a good gig. Like if they could ask you for any amount of money and you're probably just be like, I don't care, fix my toilet. Like it's got to stop. And we had a variety of those CTE options that were presented to the students throughout the week. In addition, there's huge amounts built into the program of educational learnings that occur that are really hidden from the kids, but they're built in. Like, for example, creating a nation. Okay, well, so you were ready to create your own state or your city or whatever, you're working on that. Well, okay, you gotta have to have a budget. Well, what's a budget but finances and mathematics and computation? And at a very high level of order of thinking, it's not just, you know, adding and subtracting. It is, okay, I need to have 30 widgets in order to get this, you know, put up a new street and this, and we make, the kids have to do all this. The staff act as bumpers and guides. We are there as guideposts and bumpers to keep them within the bounds of being safe, respectful, and responsible. But other than that, we're there to give advice and to kind of cheer them on and help them. But we don't tell them how to do anything or what to do. Although the returning kids often do, because we've got a number of kids who they come every year. And so after they've been through 1 year, they're ready to come in and try to take over the world, which, by the way, is not something we prevent. Like if they can figure out how to do that. We had one student a couple of years ago who he figured out a loophole in the law where that said that he managed to take over the general store. He got some investors, but kids gave him brapples. He went and bought interest in the general store. Then he was running the general store, and he figured out that if he that it was cheaper for him to pay the fine rather than his taxes. And so he ended up amassing a huge amount of money, brapples. In fact, he ended up, I think, with almost all the brapples because
Yeah, but the teachable moment was the legislature caught on and then they changed the law on their own. We didn't tell them to do this. That's the point of the organic feel, the reality that they're living in for a week. It's a condensed version of reality. If you were to draw it out for a year, it'd just be our normal lives and it'd be boring. But you condense it and have kids do it, and it's kind of fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, yeah, and in fact, there are many self-corrections that occur in that. In addition, it's very writing intensive because if you want to start a new country or you're going to, you know, do this, that, or the other thing, you have to write a proposal. You have to draw diagrams and you have to give us maps. And then the staff will look at them. And it's almost like if you've ever played D&D or something like that, where the staff go, okay, yes, you can do this, but you're going to need this or whatever. And then the kids go back and have to, you know, write a proposal or write a constitution or whatever. So it's very writing intensive also in ways that they don't really get to do. And well, for one thing, they all love to do it. Like they're very excited about whatever adventure they're trying to do. We had one student last year who it was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. He decided he was going to take a vacation. And so he got some brapples together and bought wood and like tried to construct a boat. Of course, this was all in simulation, right? There's no actual wood, there's no boat. But he had to like get blueprints for the boat. And then once he got the boat built, or he had paid someone to build it for him, then he tried to sail it across the ocean, which, you know, on that map you saw. And the kids would watch him kind of go through his little boat, make progress across the ocean as he tried to. I mean, and we totally are like, go for it, like make this your program. And so that's I think part of the amazing fun. Actually, Marianne, her kids have been participants in the program for a number of years to the point where now her son is graduated, is now staff. And her daughter's still young enough that she's in the program. Do you want to, what do your kids think about the program, Marianne?
I actually got them just 2 days ago. I got a text from my daughter hanging out with her friends. She's like, okay, what's the coupon code? They're hungry for young leaders. And so they will, you know, you have a group of 16-year-olds sitting around plotting what they are going to do in their countries, or if they're going to go to a new country, are they going to write what laws and what departments are they going to work in? And they sit around planning this all year long. My son, who's now one of our junior staff, the first year he was there, he was a lawyer. He read through all the laws, figured things out, didn't like the way that another student rewrote the Constitution that year. And he was like, no one else read what this guy wrote. We're leaving the country. And so they founded their own country. They had to pay for explorers. And to fund his country, they played the stock market and bought all of the stocks in Mountain Dew. And so then they had funding and they had a place, and then they have to write treaties and try to get concessions of what's the currency exchange between his new government, so that if he wants to actually buy things at the store, he doesn't have the right currency. And so the store won't accept it. And so how can he get treaties with the main country just to be able to buy candy and soda at the store? So we don't make it easy on them, and they work through these things to the point that they come away with a genuine ownership and understanding that is beyond anything that you get from doing an assignment in school.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Thank you, Marianne. Brian, do you have any other points that you want to bring up? No. Okay. Well, we are a week-long program. As I mentioned, kids arrive, just to give you a little bit of flavor, since we have an extra minute or two here. On Sunday, they arrive, they check in, they get their uniforms, their name badges, they go to their dorms, drop their stuff off, put on their shirts, come back, and they jump right into kind of this job fair situation where if they want to run for example, if they want to be in the media department, whether it's writing newspaper articles or doing video media or print, whatever media, well, they have to go audition for that. So, or they have to go do a screen test or whatever, and they have to get hired to do that. And oh, and by the way, kids can get fired from their jobs too. And in the event that they don't do their jobs, they can get fired. And so we have one staff who that person's job is the unemployment coordinator. And their job is to get all the unemployed kids and to figure out how to get them back into the workforce again, which, by the way, simulates reality probably too much, but it's okay. Like we haven't had that. Not too many kids have lost their jobs. I think maybe every year one kid gets fired from one place or another because they're not participating or doing whatever, and it's a learning experience. I remember the first time I got fired from a job. Like it was a good learning experience. So sometimes that's necessary. Then later then they go out to lunch, they come back, and and at this time they're starting to make relationships and work with each other to figure out how to do stuff. Later that night, they have the election convention where we announce all the jobs that were taken. And then plus they do all these little elections for both their cities that they're in, their states. And also the federal one started for the president was the previous year. It's always the previous year because the president always comes back. But then starting on Monday, they get up and the first thing that they do after breakfast is we've got a learning block where we have an hour and a half time where we've got experts coming in. And so it might be if it's the news media, that we'd have a reporter coming in and teaching them how to write lead stories and all the kinds of things. Or if they're in the police department, it might be a law enforcement officer coming in and teaching them about how to be professional and conduct yourself in appropriate ways. If they're in the judicial department, it might be an attorney or a judge coming in and talking about what that is. Or if they're a mayor, it might be we've had a number of mayors from different cities come out and talk to the kids. And so they do that Monday through Thursday. They basically are going through learning blocks and then lunch, activity blocks, dinner, and more activity blocks, plus community time, and then they're in bed. We keep them, they are so exhausted by the end of the week that most of these kids crash and go to sleep they're just done because we keep them busy from 8 a.m. until about 9 p.m. every night. Just nonstop. On Friday, things take a bit of a change because there's usually been some case that's been brewing through the judicial system that's ready to percolate. It's percolating, and so that will make it to the Supreme Court, where there'll be a big hearing. All the kids go and watch it, and then that is adjudicated by youth. The kids are running it. Like we have lawyers that are there to help them kind of explain stuff. But these kids are better than Perry Mason. Like they're doing a great job as far as running the courts. After that, we have a federal election for the president and vice president. That'll come back the next year, and then an inaugural ball for the kids, and then they're done for the night. And then that is Saturday. That's all Saturday, by the way. No, I'm sorry, that's all Friday. And then Saturday, they wake up, they pack, the parents show up. We have a awards brunch where the parents and all the family come in. The kids, they're reunited with their kids at a brunch. Everyone sits down and eats. The awards get given out, and then the kids all go home. So that's kind of what the whole week looks like in a nutshell. And interspersed amongst that, as I mentioned, we have all these other classes, CTE classes, leadership classes, et cetera, built in throughout the entire program. So yeah, that's us. And we're really excited about it. We've been doing this for so long. And by the way, we're all volunteers. Like all staff get paid a travel stipend to be there. Because like Brian is coming out from Wisconsin, different people are coming from all over the place. We've got a legislative person comes from Washington, from Olympia. So we don't want people to, we pay for all that kind of stuff out of our stuff, but everyone is really volunteer, making this happen with just basically a stipend to support, to offset the costs of them giving up a week of their vacation time in the real world, because we all have jobs. To do that. So we're very passionate about this. We love it. And all the kids have always loved it too. So if you are interested, as Matt mentioned, there are a couple different ways. One, if you just have a kid that you don't have funds for them, if you give me their contact information, I'll go figure out the money. That's what I do in my free time. I have a real job too. I'm actually principal of a school in the real world. But so when I'm not principaling, I'm off running for finding grants and little monies here and there. So if you have somebody that you'd like to send, you don't have the funds, we'll find it for them. If you have the funds, then that helps us out because that preserves our funds for other students. We do have a huge number of our students are unhoused, migrant and English language learners. In fact, Marianne, her first year involved with us, she brought a student who was unhoused. And actually, Marianne, you want to talk about him because he's a success story.
Yeah, so he and his mom were living with some random family member. It was not a great situation in basically a shack, and we had a spare spot in the program that year. And the kid wasn't sure if he really wanted to finish high school, little petty larceny, just little things that were not really pro-social. He came to Young Leaders and he managed to get elected into something. And I think the first year he was a governor, and it really changed him. And he ended up becoming president the next year, and he ended up taking the ASVAB test, passed it so high that he got to basically choose what program he wanted to go through. He became first generation going to college through the Navy, and he's now finishing his college program through the Navy. I don't know if he's been deployed yet, but he does the trajectory and guidance systems computer work based on what he saw in himself from participating in our program.
Yeah, so we like I said, we prefer, if you have the funding, we prefer to preserve those funds for those students who they can't get any other way, or there's no program to support them. And then again, just for the future, future years, if this year doesn't work out, we're going to be around. We're probably going to be again at Linfield next year. Our contract is up for renewal. We actually started at Willamette, but their dorms went under construction, so we relocated to Linfield, and so we're relatively flexible. So we'll probably be back in Linfield again next year, but we'll know after this summer once we renew our contract. And we always get our dates posted, and then we push out information on our email listserv. So if you do click on that link and give us some information, we'll be happy to connect with you, and you'll not get a bunch of spam emails. You're going to get a couple a year that are basically, okay, here's what's going on, here's the dates. And then if you are interested, like I said, in setting up a collaboration where you're going to send kids yourself, let me know. Well, either way, let me know, because we'll give you a coupon code so that those kids, and all kids always wanted a coupon code anyway. They all love their own discount code. I got a discount code. It's the best. They think it's the best thing ever. So we do that too. So anyway, that concludes our presentation. If there's no other questions, we really would like to thank you for your time and attention today.
I wanted to say and the important part of this is the adults in this chat coming to see the program in person.
Oh, yes.
You're always welcome to come have dinner with us, sit in on a session of Congress or a judicial meeting, whatever it is. We want you to, most important is we want you to come see what the kids are doing, and just don't take our word for it. You know, we might all be playing parcheesi in the back room all week, who knows? So we want you to come and see and understand firsthand what we're actually doing.
Thank you, Brian. That is absolutely true. You're all invited to come, and we'll buy you lunch or dinner when you're there. It's cafeteria food, but it's pretty good.
Well, thank you so much. This is wonderful. I also work with the Oregon Trio Association with Matt. So I'm not going to be sending any students, but I speak with program staff all day long. And so I'm excited to be able to reiterate your message and Matt's ideas for how OTA can partner with this. So this is great.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. It was nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to
thank
meet you.
So much. Thank you so much for spending some time with us here today.